Hi everyone, it's Max Miller from Tasting History. Welcome to Ketchup with Max and Jose, and today we are recapping this last year of Tasting History. So, 2022 has been a banner year for Tasting History. I mean, it's only our third year doing it, not even third full year, but it was by far and away the best year. We had 58 episodes, which makes sense because I've been tired for an entire year. And so that checks out. The 5 most popular episodes were Hardtack and Hellfire Stew. It's a really fun one. Titanic Third Class, Titanic First Class. Someone just sent me pilot biscuits, which were the hardtack on the Titanic, which is really cool. Anyway, then What Did World War II Soldiers Eat? And I bet that's only been out for like a month or so I bet that's going to catch up any time and be number 1. And then Feeding a Templar Knight, which was really a super impromptu episode. I love when that happens. Like, actually, so was the World War II one. It was like, let me put something out there. Honorable mentions to Vinegar Valentines, the Victorian Vinegar Valentine's episode, which was a drinking history around Valentine's Day, and the Tudor Salad from May Day. I actually just changed the title of that, I think, to What is May Day? Because both of those episodes flopped. Terrible. Did just terrible. But that's okay. Because, 2 out of 58 ain't bad. We welcomed 525,000 new Tastorians, bringing us to well over 1.5 million, which is insane. And we got 67.1 million views, which translates to 10.8 million hours of me. That's too much of me. So good on y'all for putting up with me for almost 11 million hours. We've got 72% of our viewers are male, which I always just think is so interesting, how it really always skews very male, and they're from all over the world, which I really love. Lots here in the US, of course, but then Canada, Germany, the UK, Australia, Brazil is always up there. The Philippines has been up there lately. Sweden, Netherlands, India. I love it. And it helps because Jose does subtitles. He gives up every Sunday night to type out everything that I say, and which takes a long time. And those subtitles really, really, really help because the amount of viewers that we have who watch with subtitles is like twice as much as the other average YouTube channel. It's pretty cool, and they get translated into other languages. So it really helps out people, and he always puts in little Easter eggs. So even if you don't need subtitles, it's worth watching. It's like a little extra content there. So 2 weeks ago, we put out an episode, me reading mean comments, and people seemed to enjoy that. They didn't enjoy the mean comments, but they enjoyed the video. So we're not doing that again. Maybe again in the future when some more mean comments come in, but we're keeping the bucket, though it's a different bucket, and instead we're going to pull out, I'm saying we, the royal we, we're going to pull out month by month, kind of what happened. Oh, and we're starting off with February, which was a really rough month. Actually, it started off really good because we did the Icelandic volcano bread, which is still one of my favorite things that I've eaten, and which was really hard to make because my oven had an auto shut off and it needed to be in there for like 24 hours and kept shutting off automatically. The Spanish Inquisition dish, the medieval Mardi Gras dish, but then those Vinegar Valentines. They stink up the place. Though I love the Vinegar Valentines. Like I just think they're hilarious. Our great-great-grandfathers and grandmothers were very weird. Now we're going back to January. So it's so funny. January started off, the first episode of the year was with Ken Albala, and we did a chicken and cherries from the 1600s, and in it he explains what sippets are, and which is a type of a little crust of bread that you would dip or sop up juice with, or stew or whatever. And as it happens, and this is not planned, but as it happens, the first episode of 2023, which I just filmed, Also mentions sippets. It's only the second time it's been mentioned on the channel, and so I explain it kind of again, but in a slightly different way because I don't have Ken here, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. And I think that we're going to be doing something else together when we can find time, because he just had a new book on aspic come out, and ain't nothing more interesting than aspic. Whether that's interesting or not, good or bad, I do not know. We did the samosas that month, cabbage. Oh, and then the Templar Night, which was one of the top videos on the channel, not just for the year, but just on the channel. March, we're kind of like hitting the beginning of the year here. March, hardtack and Hellfire Stew. And then we really took off in March because we did the donut, the medieval Irish peasant, but then we hit Titanic month. And so it was a whole month of Titanic videos, and we started off with Third Class, which is still one of the biggest performing videos ever, and people loved the Titanic videos, and I am going to do more Titanic videos. The only question is it another mini series, kind of doing like all breakfast on the Titanic, or is it something else? Maybe I do a video here, I do a video there in a few months, you know, kind of space it out over the next few years. I don't know. Let me know what you would prefer. April. We are really going. Let me mix these up a little bit better. April. More Titanic. Lots more Titanic, honestly. And then we finished up Titanic month with Anzac biscuits from World War I, which was really, really fun to make. That was one of the first, well, it wasn't the first war dish that I did, but it was one of the first 20th century war dishes that I did, which was really fun. And then a Tudor salad for May Day. That didn't go well. And I think, was that the first one that I ever filmed here? No, that was, I think, maybe the last one that I filmed in the old house. The first one that I did here was fish pudding. But we're not there, because this month, what did I pick up? November. King Tut, macaroni and cheese, that was a huge one. And World War II soldiers. Boy, November, I think, was actually the best month for the channel ever. First Thanksgiving. Japan and Portuguese barbarians. That one did not do so well. And I was a little shocked, because the food was fantastic. I thought it was interesting. You can never tell. I don't take it personally. I kind of take it personally, but that's all right. And then I finished the month with the haggis episode, which I had been planning since almost I started this channel. Well, not this channel, but Tasting History, making haggis, and that one I did over in Scotland. Oh, and when it comes to that haggis episode, there was an audio issue. Because I recorded some here and some in Scotland, in different places, when they all went into my editing software, they kind of messed up. The editing software tries to kind of smooth it out, but it did so by making me sound like I was a little high pitched. Sounded like I had a little bit of helium, not a lot, but just a little bit of helium. And that's partly on me, because I still use iMovie to edit my videos. Most people would have moved on to something bigger and better by now, but iMovie does everything that I need to do 99.9% of the time. Not that. But also it's just because learning a new editing software, it takes a long time. And I tried, failed, and just stuck with iMovie. So until I'm forced to use something else, I'll probably stick with that. September. The original Caesar salad from Mexico. Delicious. My sauce split a little bit, but that's all right. Whiskey. This was all stuff that was like Scotland did the whiskey, the medieval saint diet, which was from Iona. And then pemmican, which really strong performer. Honestly, I kind of figured it would be, because Townsend's had done it on his channel and people loved it. So I was kind of like, well, I'll do my version, the new version from Love Actually. Anyway, so, you know, the concept was already there, and proof of concept, I believe that's what they call it. July. July was another good month because we had tacos and then ketchup. And ketchup did so because who doesn't love ketchup? I love ketchup. And it kind of kept things going for a lot of the summer, because then we had the Byzantine honey fritters, medieval manners. That was a really fun one to do. I actually have a whole other episode that was in that script that I took out because I want it to be a separate episode, kind of on how the people who were serving would have lived their lives and everything, because there's a lot of stuff on that. So that happens sometimes. An episode just gets too long, or there's enough of something completely separate that it could make a whole other episode. And I'm like, well, there's a whole nother week of research I don't have to do. Also, there is a lot of speculation on that video of what happened at Miss Manners that got us kicked out. I was there with my brother and my cousins, and we got kicked out. I didn't do anything, and I can't say it. Really can't say it, but it had to do with someone saying a word that starts with the letter Q. That's all I can say, and if we ever go to drinks, I'll actually tell you the whole story. It's kind of funny, especially because we were like 8. Anyway, August, afternoon tea. Oh, August was cool because I actually left for Scotland this month, so these were all coming out while I was over there. Feijoada, which I had expected to do so well. I had like built up to feijoada, and then it just kind of sat there. Sometimes it's the topic, sometimes it's the picture or the title, and sometimes it's the time of year. That happens, and I don't know which it was, but something happened. Whereas the Catherine the Great episode, or Bierox, I didn't expect to do very well, and then it did really well, and people loved making those, which they should, because it's one of my favorite foods. Also, I didn't think that the Leonardo da Vinci episode would do well, because it was basically about how everything interesting food-wise about Leonardo da Vinci is a myth, or at least a lot of it is, and people really enjoyed that. Kind of a little bit of honesty, I guess, in sometimes how things fall apart when I'm making an episode, and I was just too far in not to continue making it. That's what happens when I put deadlines on myself of every Tuesday, and sometimes Fridays. Here we go with, there's a bug on this. Oh no, it's just lint. December. Well, that was this month. You know what? I'm going to come back to December. Setting that aside. Kind of defeats the bucket purpose, but when I get to just decide. June was fun because that was kind of like right after we moved into the house, so it was like, oh, and I got COVID. So I was down and out for half of the month, and luckily I had already made an episode on gruel that I was going to hold for a time when I couldn't make an episode, and there we go. So I put out the gruel episode, potatoes, Viking Age, absinthe, and that gruel episode did really well, which is kind of cool. Seeing as that was not a throwaway, nothing's a throwaway, but it was, saving this emergency episode. It was an emergency episode. October. October started off with the jellyfish from the Black Banquet. One of the most disgusting things I've ever had. It's an interesting topic, but the Real Macbeth video. I thought, again, I love Macbeth and I love Shakespeare, and it did meh. Sin Eaters, that was a good month. That was a fun month. I really enjoyed all the episodes. I enjoy every episode. May. So this is when we first moved here, and I can remember writing while we still had absolutely no furniture in the house. The ancient Greek breakfast, teganites, the ice cream one, and then the fish pudding. That's probably the second most disgusting thing I've had, and it would have been number one if it had been black like the jellyfish. We have a Jose favorite that flopped, just like Soul Cakes, a Jose favorite that never did very well. This was the how the wine glass got its shape. History of the wine glass. Doesn't seem interesting, but it is interesting. But again, sometimes there's just reasons why things don't go well. Okay, now we're coming back to December. And I only say this because we're not technically done with the month. So when coffee was illegal, the Marie Antoinette diet, that's another one that I thought was going to do really well because I think she's interesting. Christmas in the Trenches. Wassel did surprisingly well, and I didn't expect it to do well. That's why I have no idea what's gonna happen when I put these videos out. Every Tuesday's a surprise, and sometimes Fridays. Latkes did really, really well, doing really well. It's only been out for a couple days, and then next week, and I'm hoping that it does well because people have been wanting it for a long time. It took me forever to make an episode on Mesopotamian beer, Sumerian beer. 4,000-year-old, the first beer recipe, it's not a recipe, description that there is. I think it's one of my best videos ever. And I don't always think that. I think that I did a really good job on this video. So we'll see. It's funny because the first year that we were doing this, the last video, that video that came out between Christmas and New Year's, just blew up. It was the Babylonian stew, the tuhu, and it did so well. So I thought, oh, this is a great time of year to post because everybody's home. But it was 2020. Everybody was home in 2020. Last year, not so much. Shortbread video came out and just flopped. So I'm curious to see what happens with this one. If it was the topic, or if it was that people are out and doing things in the week between Christmas and New Year's, busy with family and everything. I don't know. But we'll see. Either way, I'm sure every one of you will watch it because it's going to be a good episode. And it's an interesting topic, Sumerian beer. So yeah, that was 2022. It was a good year. And before we go on to 2023, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this channel. It is not Tasting History. You're not watching Tasting History. You're watching Ketchup with Max and Jose. So make sure that you're subscribed over here. And then, so for 2023, I've got some big plans. And you know what they say about big plans, that they often go awry. And so they might. But some of the plans are revisit Titanic. How I'm going to do that, I'm not entirely sure, but make your thoughts known. I also have an idea to do a series that is a little more drawn out, kind of one a month throughout the entire year, World War II recipes, but start off with the home front, and not just in the US, not even just with the Allies, but with all of the major players. So, even touch on Germany, Italy, Japan, as well as England and Russia and or the USSR and the United States, and maybe some other countries here and there, depending on what information I can find. That's the thing. I don't want to promise anything because I haven't actually done the research yet. And then the second half of the year, I would each month I would touch on something that they would have eaten in the military in different parts of different powers and whatnot. So I think that would be interesting. So let me know what you think on that one. I also, I don't want to give away the golden goose, but I've got some ideas for, I'm just going to say, Hindenburg, Olympic, Alcatraz. These are ideas that I have in my head. Spam. I do have a video coming out, though I don't know when, that I've already filmed when we were in Hawaii on the history of the luau, which is fascinating and so not what most people think of when they think of a luau. Super, super important meal. So I'm really looking forward to getting that one out whenever I decide to edit it. And then just, kind of digging into some more of the areas that I've touched on and haven't really gotten into. I've often talked about spices, really made an influx during the Crusades. Well, what did a crusader eat? And what did the opposing armies eat? What did people fighting under Saladin eat and everything? And I think that would be very interesting because we do have a lot of information from both sides of, it's not really a conflict because it lasted so long and it's so many different things. It's very complicated and that's kind of what will make a video very difficult. The comment section will be aglow when those videos come out, I promise you. I'm also going to be, hopefully, if everything goes well, going to Morocco. So I'm going to be exploring some Moroccan food and hopefully doing some more filming abroad. We'll see how it works, filming there, filming here. The technical stuff gets me. I'm not very technical, so yeah, I'm really excited. Lots of big things, and I've got a lot more ideas that I want to happen, but they're even less concrete than the ones I've already said, which very well might not happen. So don't bet on any of this. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good year, 2023, and let's kick it off with the last half of the Sumerian beer episode doing really, really well in that first part of 2023. And yeah, so I'll see you over there on that side of New Year's Day.